Let's start with these days full of panels here at Spiel 19 at Internationale Spieltage. This will be the first in the afternoon. We're talking about the board gaming business, the board gaming scene in Iran. 1 hour later, we'll meet some of the of Germany's foremost YouTubers and bloggers and journalists who are writing about board games. This will be here, and this will be in German language. Then Ignacy Cevicek of Portal Games will celebrate 20 years of Portal publishing. And at 4, I'll be back with some more panelists, and we're discussing how we're making the world a better place by playing board games and what we can do about the environment. So I would like to start by telling you the story how this year came to be. Because this year we were very proud to have a lot of publishers, 5 publishers from Iran, who wanted to have a booth on this fair, who wanted to show their games, who wanted to show Persian board games to the world. And they did everything possible to make this happen. They even found a way to send their games here because everybody denied them the possibility to transport them to Germany because of sanctions and because of the companies not wanting to transport games, something from Iran because the fear of suffering from sanctions from other countries. It was sad. It was a happy moment because Iran was to set a footprint into the world of board gaming, as we saw it, as we perceived it, and this is the world's biggest public fair. What better place to show them? And then all the visa requests they sent to the German embassy in Tehran were rejected. So you're still able to see the games in Hall 5. That is M117, and yours is E106. And but it's a major setback for all those publishers. So we want to discuss this this matter of Iranian board games, how we can see them, what is so special about Iranian board games, what you want to do with your companies, and how you want to join the world of board gaming. And we have Ashkan Bourouj from Reality Game. We have Ashkan Javaheri from Dorehami Games, and we have Farshad Niknejad from Hapmaayeh publisher in Iran. Give them a please welcome them. Ashkan, it wasn't all that bad because you sold out of Tsar, I understand. So. So you're doing good business.
Yes.
You should take this because people want to understand you.
Sure. Okay. Hi, everybody. The reality game started 2 years ago, and the Tsar is the first game that they published 2017-18, and it is back to our cultures. Every tools are unique. I ask from the gamers from the Europe and the American countries that the mechanism of the game is very, very unique and special, and because of that, I think when I told the story about the Tsar and how to play it, they shocked, surprised, and started to buying. And we sold out yesterday, 50 boxes finished, and yes, this is the business. We have got many problems for the cargo. 48 hours I was stuck in Düsseldorf to release the boxes of the games. And after many complicated process, finally we are here and we sold out. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
No, he's got one of his own. Ashkan, you're from Dorehami Games, and I've seen the Twitter feed that you met with some guys from Itten Games. So this is truly international business you're doing.
First of all, hello. Actually, he met with the...
All right, okay.
Yes. And first of all, I want to thank you for coming here. And second, my colleagues and friends, they wrote a couple of lines from Iran that they couldn't come, so I want to read this to you. We are 5 Iranian publishers attending SPIEL 19 for the first time to become a part of the international board game community. But unfortunately, most of our visa applications were rejected by the German embassy. As this year is the start of a long-term collaboration between us and the global board game industry, we hope that we can attend the fair with full capacity for the next year. And we need the German embassy's reliance and, of course, your support to achieve this goal. Thank you very much.
You didn't need a German visa to come here because there's another way.
Before the fair, before we planning for the fair, I had a plan with my family to travel to Spain. And the good point for me was that I didn't need to go to a German embassy and tell them I want to come to Germany for Spiel Messe. And my visa was from Spain. And that was the point that I'm here. Because I gained my visa for traveling to Spain, not for coming to the exhibition and fair.
Because the German embassy in Tehran rejected all the visa applications with the words that they don't see why there is any reason to come to Spiel.
I think, I don't know, it's my opinion. I think they didn't see this fair, I don't know, somehow powerful or, I don't know, because whoever whoever wants to participate in this fair got rejected from the embassy. And it shocked us. And I'm here to say me and our team are very sad because we were 6 people and that they wanted to attend in the fair. Our designer, Amin, one of our manager, Mohammad Reza, no one couldn't come here. And it's just me. Right now that I'm speaking to you, our booth is empty. And I closed the door and I put my games in the closet and locked the door because it's just me.
So there's a certain risk coming here.
Yeah.
Ashkan, how important is this fair for you? You have a US visa, so you could travel wherever you wanted.
Yes, I'm a US citizen. I have a US passport. That's why I had no problem coming.
How important is it to attend this fair?
Very important, especially for us, because it's kind of like a gateway for us, for the Iranian publishers. And beside us, there's a lot of more Iranian publishers. And when we hear that we're attending the fair and we have this good feedback, we've sold out our games, and lots of the board gamers and publishers, they liked our games. So this is a good sign. And hopefully next year, we're going to attend the fair bigger, stronger, and with more and a better plan.
What can we learn about the Iranian board gaming scene? There are few members of it are here, and what can you tell us about it?
All right. During these years, the board game in Iran rapidly and radically boosted and rising, and again, families back to the board games. And right now, we are less than 20 companies that are publishers, and 10 of them made original game in Iran. And last year, I checked the statistics, 3 million games sold in Iran. And it is very, very surprisingly for the game board publishers and the companies that distributed the games. Farshad is one of our, from the company, Fekrkade, is a cafe game. Right now, we are more than 100 cafe games in the main cities, and the small cities started to have minimum one game cafes in their cities, and it is rapidly boost. And right now we are here to show the world that we can compete with our international companies, because whoever come to Ashkan, me or Farshad, they touch the tools, they hear the stories behind the games, and they are surprised how we made them with good quality, with a good stories, challenging, fun, interesting, and nobody knows about the situation of Iran board games right now. And this is a very good time for us to show that.
I understand that Iran is board game cafe heaven because there are so many cafes, even in small towns. And how long has this evolution been going on?
It's for 4 years or for 5 years, 4 to 5 years.
So it's a quite young phenomenon.
Yeah, it's quite young, and but I want to say, Fekrkade is our brand for board game cafe, and in franchising we are the biggest board game cafe in the world because we have 9 branches in Iran, and if I want to say, at our weekends. I want to say at weekends we have about 1,000 people that came to our cafe for playing board games.
How do I have to imagine a board game in, say, Tehran? What does it look like? What is an offer? What games can I play?
People in Iran, because in Iran, boys and girls, together friends, come to our cafe and they want to play board games. About 60% of them wants playing party games because they want to have fun, they want to laugh, they want to have some adventuring in the games, and about 40% of them are into hard games or, for example, some strategic games with weight, for example, above 3 to 5. We know people in Iran are into board games very hard because when we release a game in Iran, before that we go to notice them. We are publishing new game in next few weeks, and they messaging us. They send us email, send us direct from Instagram for asking us when to tell us. When it comes, we want to buy it, we want to play it. The board game business in Iran is very hot. It's challenging. We are several companies competing with each other, but also we are friends.
That's domestic games being played. Are there any international games being played, strategy games, and in the cafes?
You mean games from Iran in Iran?
No, games from somewhere else in Iran. So can I go to a board game cafe in Tehran and play, say, Scythe?
I cannot understand the question.
Can I go to a board game cafe in Tehran and play a game like Scythe? Or
of course. In our cafes, for example, Fekrkade, I don't know about the others, but I think so, because our board game gurus read the manual, the rule books in English, and most of them can speak in English easily, and they can teach you in English. In Fekrkade, our board game promoters or board game gurus can speak in English and Farsi, and some of them can speak in German too. And we have a lot of foreigners, customers, that we can manage them. Yeah. You can come to our cafe.
But how hard is it to get a physical copy of Scythe to Tehran, to the countryside, to a cafe somewhere in Iran, to just buy it? Is it on sale?
Yeah, we have online shops and some stores that they sell all the famous board games. But it's quite as hard as we want to brought our games to Germany. It's the same, and we could find all the new games, all the new releases in Iran. It's the same as anywhere else in the world. The only difference is that because of the customs and the sanctions, it's a little bit more expensive. So if you buy it here, I think it'll be much cheaper than if you buy it in Iran. That's the only difference. But most cafes, they have a good archive on games, and they have all the games you could think. No difference between board game cafes here and there, except the Islamic rules that they have.
They are imposed on board games. So censorship is imposed on board games too?
Not that much. Some board games that they might have nude pictures or that kind of pictures. Well, I don't think we have that many board games that have nude pictures.
It's a family business.
Yes, but no, some parts of the body, for instance, but this doesn't happen in big cities. Sometimes it happens in small cities because they don't have knowledge about board games. That's why we think that it might be a way of, for instance, gambling or doing that kind of stuff. But day by day, it's getting better because they're understanding that board games are just for having fun and gathering, and that's the point.
If something is expensive or very hard to get, or it's a valued thing to import it, there are always copycats. Do you have a problem with intellectual property in Iran, that people are copying games from international publishers for the domestic market?
Unfortunately, yes, but the problem is that because of the sanctions, people don't have access to all the board games. And if they do, it's a little bit expensive for them. So there's a few little companies that they produce and copy games with lower quality. They translate it or they localize it and they sell it. But the amount isn't that much. It's a little part of the market, but unfortunately, yes,
is it a hindrance for you if you want to buy a license, if you want to have a licensed game in Iran and sell it there for the Iranian market, an international game, the official version?
Yes, we've done it before. We've worked, a few companies have worked before with like Gigamik or other companies, and Hoopa has worked with Mr. Bruno Feiducci. It was a pleasure for us that he visited Tehran, and yeah, and we've even been talking to a couple of companies and publishers here for getting license in Iran. Yeah.
Who would be the target audience for board games in Iran? Would that be students? Would that be young professional, or mostly children?
Yep. The most of the market is the millennium and the Z generation. These are the main participants of the board games. But it is interesting that this generation, the millennium and Z generation, get the board games into the family and get them be a part of the game with the mother, father, sisters in a parties, but the main generation is the millennium. And students, most of the time, after the university or the high school, the afternoon and evening, they are coming to the board games to playing, and at the weekends especially. But the board game right now found a way to the homes. Again, back to the history, because you know that Iranian have got a very full history in the board games. Chess and backgammon are between Iran and India, exchanging between our cultures, and we have got many board games, but we have got a very big gap until 2013-15, and again board games back to the families. We have got many parties game like the Deberna or the Mafia or name it or whatever, but the board games right now are popular.
What started that development in the first place? Because when you say 1,000 years ago, thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
there was chess and backgammon invented. Then there's this large gap, and there's quite of a renaissance of board gaming.
Board games, yeah.
What started that?
In my opinion, actually, I think startups. Startups in Iran change everything. They make the culture of the market to the new trends. For example, reality game, Dorehami, all of them are started as a company, but most of the successful ones started as a startup, and kickstarters, accelerators started to support them. And in my opinion, I understand it, but maybe Ashkan and Farshad know better than me.
What started the board games in Iran? Okay. Yeah. A couple of years ago, Iranians mostly played a couple of board games. The most popular ones like Monopoly, Risk, that kind of games, Clue, and
Secret of Jungle.
yeah, Secret of Jungle, yeah, those kind of games. And at first when we went to work, when we mentioned board games, they were all like, okay, so you're meaning a Monopoly or Risk or those kind of games? And we were all like, no, board games they have their own world. There's 10,000s of board games. But it was hard for them to understand it because they only thought that games are for kids and childs. They didn't think that grown men, all ages could play games. That was the thing that we had to introduce to the people. And now, day by day, they're recognizing this and they're acknowledging this, that board games are for everyone. And we're establishing it in the families. And the start of it was, I think, the start of the board game industry in Iran was a bloom that happened with a couple of companies. We started to work at the same time that reality games started to work, at the same time that Fekrkade started to work. But we weren't together. But after a couple of months that we had the same strategies and plans, we started to work together as I think probably next year we're going to unite together as one brand and attend the fair, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. About start of board game in Iran?
Yes. Fekrkade is the head company that is organizing the cafés.
Fekrkade is the best company about board game cafe in Iran. Hapmaayeh is its sister company about publishing games. In publishing, we are not the best. We are trying hard to make something good. But in board game cafe, we are the best, and we think we are the best in the world because we have some standards, we have some guidelines, and some things for our board game grooves. I think, in my opinion, starting good companies like Dorehami, reality games, and beside them, Fekrkade as presenting the game. Because in our cafe, people come to us and we present games for them.
You present the games of your own company. So you have
not for first years, because Hapmaayeh is very, very young. Hapmaayeh is less than 1 year old. But Fekrkade is right now, it is for our 4th year that we are working. And in our board game cafe, we present the others' game. And I think after establishing the second branch of Fekrkade in Tehran, people have thought about board game cafe business in Iran. They saw that, they can establish their next branch. It means it is a good business. If they can do it, we can do it too. And I think it was the start of it. People started establishing board game cafes in Tehran, and then in next cities. As I said, for example, our board game grooves, they have to pass 2 months for being a board game group. They have workshops. We also train them how to walk, how to speak, how to act, how to respond to the questions, and we train them for each direction of being a board game group. And I think companies like Dorehami, Reality, and beside them, Fekrkade as a presenting team to the people. It was the start of it.
And so after 5 years, you opened up the 9th branch of café. You have a shop inside the cafés to sell your games or to sell other games too?
Yeah, in each branch we have a shopping shelf. People can buy games from us, and it is our games and the others' games, our allies, like guys.
So it's like a flagship store. It's a cafe with a flagship store inside.
Somehow.
We like to get to know more about Iranian games, because you said most of it is party games. You have games for very large groups of players, 40 or something like that.
Yes, our games are mostly party games, and we hold lots of events in Iran. And even Fekrkade, each week they have large events, their own games and my games. Each event would be like 40, 50 players. I have a record in Iran. One of my games is called Mafia's Night, and one event was with 80 players at the same time. It took from 5 to 2 after midnight. And yeah, I was all like, okay, let's finish it, and just kill each other and just finish it. They were just keep on going forward.
Do you have curfew?
No.
All right.
No. But cafes in Iran, they're not supposed to be open after 12, but we just closed the doors and we had a hidden session of Mafia's Night. And it was the first live stream in Iran for a game. It was a 7-hour live event. And in every city, big or small, they're holding lots of board game events, party game events. I could tell you right now that in Iran, I think right now around 200, 300 people are playing party games in different events in Iran. Because of lack of other things that we don't have, this is a growing trend, and yeah, lots of events in Iran.
You mentioned the millennials and people connecting via Instagram, via social media. You mentioned a BoardGameGeek rating, and I understand that BoardGameGeek is a website that is blocked in Iran.
Yeah, it's.
You check that naturally check that in Spain.
No, we can use in Iran. We can use proxy in Iran, VPN and proxy.
There is a way.
Yeah, there is a way, but it's not a surprise for us, because in Iran most of websites are black, but
we will find a way to pass the block.
Yes, because Sorab, he's always twittering and telling us about Tsar game, and he's telling us about everything. So Twitter is available.
Nothing can stop Iranian. Okay.
Sure.
The question. Back to the question. You want to know about how we pass the...
Yes. No, I will not technically, but there is a way to use all this Instagram and
we have got a website and Instagram. We have Twitter. We have LinkedIn, and everybody have got a VPN in Iran. Not everybody, but most of the people have got a VPN and pass the blocks of the filters and sanctions and everything. All of us are on Twitter, working on Facebook and everything. But the Iranian want to buy games or receiving the news about the new games. They follow us on Instagram most of the time. And right now, we are a new generation of influencers. on Instagram and Twitter, and new weblogs that started to reviewing the games, and it is very, very happy for us. I think the new way of changing from the being in social media to a reality world is a board game right now, because the people is tired of being liking, rolling the Instagram and something like this, and the board game is a new reason to being together and making a bridge between the cultures and between the generation. This is the new things that Iranian started to using board games, and they find in the cafés, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you want.
We've been talking about growing business for cafes, for games. How much do you suffer from sanctions? When we're sitting here, we have sanctions imposed on Iran. Economical sanctions. You couldn't cargo, you couldn't ferry some games here. How much does that influence your producing games?
Well, the most impact it has is on the price, because board games are mostly made out of paper, and paper is very expensive in Iran because of the sanctions. You might sleep and wake up and 20% will go on the price of paper. For example, you estimate the price of this game would be 20 euros, for example, and then you wake up the next morning and then 20% goes on the paper, so you say, okay, I have to do it 25. And then all the consumers will say that, hey, well, why is it that expensive? Because they don't know that paper is getting expensive. All of this is because of the sanctions. That this is the main problem we have. The other problem is that importing foreign board games into Iran, but usually they do it illegally in different ways. They bring it by ship or by passenger, by luggage.
Yeah.
Or there's a couple of companies that they work with Amazon, and you could order a game or anything you want from Amazon, but like 10 or 20% more expensive, and they could ship it to you in 2 or 3 days, just like anywhere else.
Okay.
But unofficial.
You have to think from the result. It's there. You receive your game.
Pardon me?
You receive your game, so the result is
at the end,
result.
at the end, yes, you receive the game. Yeah.
So I would like to talk about a cultural aspect of gaming. What is Persian about Persian games? What makes Persian games unique?
All right.
What is you have this Tsar game, and I understand it's based on a Persian story.
Yeah. Maybe the story behind the games of Iranian board games is very interesting, and because they are all back to our ancient cultures. For example, the Tsar is a big ceremony with a group of allied people that are knowing how to work and fight with the demon. The Tsar, the name of the Tsar is the ceremony in Iran and some countries like the Italian, Africans, is a ceremony is like the exhausting to get the genie out of the body. And it is doing by many people like the alchemists, physicians, wise men and the monk, and we get it to the game. And we have got the mechanism of the game is a astrolabe and the geomancy dice. In Persian, we called it raml and ostolab. Right now, the fortune teller in Iran use these things. So we put it in the game as, and we gave the characters to the players. I mean, we get them closer to be in a story in the game.
So there's a lot of inspiration in history, in Persian culture and Persian history for the themes of the games. Like you're promoting Don, it's based on a chessboard.
Yeah. Let me tell you something interesting. last night I was talking to Amin, the designer of our games. It is interesting. People here like artworks that are related to our culture, our ancient culture. For example, when people saw Bazaar's graphic, they saw, oh, wow, it's great, it's somehow classy, it's something beautiful. But in Iran, is not like this. In Iran, people likes European arts. They don't like this because they are saying it every day, and it's not interesting for them. They say, "Wow, what is this? It's my everything. It's my everyday material. Is my everyday people. I don't want the mustachio, the mustache on the face. I want." A white face without no hair. I want something like European guys on the cover, and that's interesting. Here, this year, we gained that in international market, we should use our ancient culture. We should use some unique ideas from our culture, our history, something new for the market. But in Iran, it's not like that.
There's always the hope that it looks like 1001 Nights.
Yeah.
And it's like a historic thing, and you want to be modern, and you want to,
of course,
start. To start. I hope this has been a start for Iranian board games on this fair. I would like to give the audience the opportunity to, once you're here and your booth is unoccupied, to have the possibility to ask questions to you. I have to say thank you to Farshad Niknejad, to Ashkan Javaheri and Ashkan Bourouj. Thank you for being here. Ja, ich schmeiß erst noch ein Glas um und dann komme ich mit dem Mikrofon. Bitte schön.
Hello, I'm a comic book writer. I'm alien to your market. Sometimes I play with my friends. I'm not a fan of Eurogames. Just today, I've seen a wonderful adventurous game, and I asked, what is it about? The first thing that the seller told me, it's a Euro game. And I began running away. So, I see that all things that are produced, everything that has to do with pop culture is copied here. I come in the last years and I see that, is Vikings trendy? Let's make board games with Vikings. Are the Walking Dead trendy? Let's do a lot of them. Do you plan, or how can you be special? Or do you want to remain special, or will you do the same?
Are you asking me?
Whom are you asking?
Yeah. Thank you.
In the reality game, our company, the guys just think about the new things, not only the trends. Okay, we have got two markets. The domestic market needs something that is maybe trendy, but the international market needs a unique one. We think about the unique one.
First of all, I have the same opinion about Eurogames. I'm the same. I don't like Eurogames that much. And second, because we sell like tens of thousands of copies in Iran, and we have to conclude the domestic market and the international market. But if you design a good game with any kind of artwork, if it's a good game, it doesn't matter if it's in Iran, if it's in Mars or anywhere, it will sell and it will be a good game.
Yeah, as Ashkan said, we are working in Iran, and exporting games to the international market, it's hard for us. Unfortunately, in this fair, we talked to some companies for exporting our games. Some of them told us, we cannot work with you because of sanctions. We cannot sell your games because I cannot name them. But for example, our game Dawn was one of the game that one of big companies liked it, And he said, oh, it's good, I want to buy the license of the game, I will talk to my colleagues to buying it or publishing it. But when he asked, where are you from? I told him, I'm from Iran. He said, oh, we cannot work with you. And it's the matter, it's the thing. Right now, when we come back to Iran, we have to think about our domestic market, because we cannot export games at the moment, right now. But we are thinking about a project for this year or next year to do something great. Maybe we surprise you.
Bitteschön, da hinten.
Hey, first, thank you for this very nice insight in Iranian board gaming. My question is, this hobby is quite new in Iran, as we have seen today. So how did you guys personally get into the hobby?
You were asking about
How you got into the hobby, how you started board gaming, how you...
Yeah. I started board gaming, actually, from BoardGameGeek. I'm printing board game from BoardGameGeek PMP, print and play, and it was coup game. I started with coup, and I was interested in board game. Then I searched in the Google about board games in Iran. I found Dorehami and Fekrkade, board game café. And I went there to Fekrkade and I said, I want to play. And I played, and then they asked me to work here. You are always here. So they told me, you're always here, so you can work here. You know all the games. And it was their story. And all the people, there are a lot of people like me. And then I became a Fekrkade employer. And I was the guy who employed people for Fekrkade. And I saw a lot of people like me. They were always in cafe, and I told them the same thing. You are always here, so come here and work. And it was the story.
How about you?
I'm a gamer. I love games, any kind of games, video games, board games, card games, even sports. I used to play soccer. I had a knee surgery, so I had to put soccer away. And I love games, but the most important thing that brought me to producing games and designing games was the feeling that when you see a couple of people playing your game and having fun with it, that's the best feeling for me, and I get satisfied. Yeah, that's.
So I'm the representative of the reality game, but I'm fan of the board games. But my colleagues are the board games phobia. they always playing, and during these years that I told you, the startups, they thought about a new trend in the culture industry. There is a new things, creative things in Iran started. The game is one of them, and they started to producing and design new things and games in the board game world. So they playing a lot. They are playing a lot of games, but according the mechanism, the rules, the characters of all of them, they started to make a new one. This is the thinking of the reality game, to make a new thing from our culture. And they started to make reality game.
And let me add something. A board game in Iran, in parents' eyes, are better than video games. You know, parents like to see their children that they are playing board games more than video games. For example, some parents come to our cafe and told us, "Hey, he is my child. Give him a board game, not video game. Give him a board game." And they ask us to force the kids for playing board game. We told us it's not like that. He or she should like the game. It's not. We cannot force them for playing board games. But people here, people in Iran, absolutely, parents. Prefer playing board games instead of video games because, it engage thinking and mind. They think it has more engaging with thinking and minds.
There's one more question at the back.
Hello. First of all, thank you very much. It's very interesting, and I think it's the first time I'm in the same room as an Iranian, which is very cool to me. My name is Yuval. Nice meeting you. I was wondering about, lost my words again for a sec. Iran, at least in Western eyes, is a very conservative and also nationalized country. Do you think that choosing board games and pastime and stuff like that is what you can call resistance by normality, choosing to live as a person and not as a part of a revolution or something?
It's a
very complicated question.
Difficult.
Can you get it simple a little bit?
Do you think that choosing to live normal private life could be seen as, like
an act of resistance against the system?
Yes.
Is board gaming a way towards a freer society?
You mean board game? Can board game makes a system freer? Yeah.
No.
Board games are way behind video games. Right now in Iran, we have lots of companies that were producing video games, computer games, apps, and mobile games that were very successful. And if, for instance, if you want to see the market for all the games, we will have an 80% market for video games and only 10 to 20% market for board games. So we're way behind, and that's why we felt that we need the board games, and the lack of board games is too much in Iran. We have Institute of Video Games in Iran, official institute that works with the government. They attend lots of conventions around the world, but with board games, no, we don't have this. One thing that we forgot to mention is that mostly when we say board games or games in Iran, they think that we're talking about toys. So we have institutes and organizations that they all work with toys. And we're trying to introduce the board games to them, and hopefully by time goes by, we're going to do this better.
Yeah. I would like to take one last question from the audience, please.
So, hello, all of you. Thank you for coming to Europe. I was not aware that board games were dangerous and you were on the embargo list, so maybe your board games explode, or I don't know. Just some basic question concerning the gentleman on the right, concerning the board game cafés. Excuse me, my right, your left. Is it not so that a board game cafe is a place where sexes can meet in Iran, because they are pretty segregated, so where females and males can meet and have fun and have parties without having the problems of the mullahs? That's my first question. The second question to the gentleman now from your side to the right, if you're American, wouldn't you have a huge market in the US for Persian games? Like, hey, come on, let's play Persian games. There are 250,000 Persians living in LA alone and 35,000, I guess, in Vancouver, blah, blah. So if, I don't know, every fifth would play your game, you would be rich, wouldn't you? And for you, sir, on the right, your game, SAR, I've never heard before. And if I want to get it, how could I get it? Because it sounds really great. It really sounds like an exorcist story, like, oh, let's exorcise them. And
Yeah, I can answer the last question for you. It's 5E106.
It's sold out.
So, yeah, but you can order it.
Okay, because lack of time, I should answer quickly. Yes. Yeah, it is one of the things that makes board game cafe in Iran very popular, because girls and boys outside the cafes, it's not very hard. It's not banned, or it's not a rule for not being together. But in cafes, they can laugh with each other. They can sit on a table and playing with each other. For example, outside the cafe, I cannot. It's not easily to getting together. Universities are boys and girls. Everything we are together. But in board game cafes, for example, when playing a Mafia's Night, they don't know each other, but they can sit together and play together, and it's completely free. Yeah, it has some influence on it. Yeah.
And yes, of course, if I sell my games in Iran, in America, I could get rich. But I've been talking to a couple of American companies. I'm not going to tell their names, of course, but they're very interested, and that's the reason that we're trying to establish a united company outside of Iran. So we have our businesses in Iran, but we'll use this company so that we could have interaction with the global market and not with these problems. Now, no sanctions, or it might be in America or in Europe. We have to decide. But yeah, this is our plan to sell our games to the whole world.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes.
Say something. I would have loved to hear Mr. Bruno Fedossi talk about Iran for 1 or 2 minutes since he visited Iran. If that's okay for you.
Okay. If you like. Because
no problem about the timing.
Maybe you're not aware of it. Bruno Fedossi, who's a world famous game author, he has been to Tehran a few months ago.
I spent 1 week in Tehran, invited by another publisher who couldn't get here, which was Hoopa Games, who is making the Persian version of Citadels. And one thing about this sanction is fun, but when he asked me to do Citadels, I had to ask the American publisher, Fantasy Flight, who was the rights, and they told me, oh, okay, we don't touch Iran, but you can, no problem. It's your business. We give you back the rights for Persian, and then you can deal with it. So it's, it's always possible to go think around. But and so, what I think it's true that Board Game Cafe in Iran, for example, I've been impressed by what I've seen. But I think the most surprising for me is that it was not that different, maybe not different at all from board game cafes in Paris or in Kyoto, or where I used to go in board game cafe. It's the same. It's really, well, there was no difference. It was the same games. You were talking about size. I've seen a copy of size in a shop. But I've been told the price was about the monthly wage of standard Iranian, so it's not for everyone, for sure. But you can buy a copy of size, there's no problem. You can play it in Board Game Cafe. And well, I think the most surprising for me was really that it's not that different. People felt very modern, they were completely in the board game culture, and so it's
okay.
And the Persian edition of Citadels is gorgeous.
Thank you so much. And I'm afraid we can't take any more questions. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being interested in this panel. Thank you.